Okay, so we're going to do the first step, which is the alkalinity testing. First thing first, obviously have your hair tied back and have gloves on. And have your sleeves down so you don't get any acid on you. We have a burette here, which is we're going to use to do the titration. You probably have done this in school. You need to be able to fill the burette first of all with the acid. The way that you can do that is quite simply by unscrewing this bit here, which makes it move up and down. You can then turn it to the side and move it so that it's nice and low to eye level. Now watch the very bottom of the burette. Make sure it doesn't bang off the table. You need to have a funnel, which is then going to be put on top of the burette. Make sure that the tap is closed, so it should always be crossways so that it doesn't let any acid out when you put the acid into the burette. At the moment this one is actually open, so you can see there. So you need to turn it so that it's crossways. Now the correct way to actually do that is to hold it so that you can turn it and not break the mechanism. Okay, so you're going to fill this now with some acid. It's the 0.02N acid that's here, okay? Hopefully it's the right way around. I'll put the mirror thing on. You're going to then pour it in. Now if you're not confident about pouring, then you can transfer into something smaller. I'm just going to use one of these for the moment, but I'll put something out tomorrow that will help. So you can transfer into the smaller vessel and then fill the burette to the top. Make sure that when you fill the funnel, you don't go too fast because it might overflow. Okay, now what's really important is that you take the funnel out before you do any changes. You're going to probably fill it well over the zero line, so all you want to do then is to let some of the acid out. So we're just going to bring the burette back up so that it's at working level. So unscrew this, push it up, and then bring it round so that it's able to be used. Okay, so we're going to make sure that the acid is at the zero mark before we start. If you miss the zero mark, it doesn't matter. Just take a note as to where the acid has started, and then you'll know how much you've used when you do your titration. So, again, making sure that you hold the actual mechanism so you don't break it. You want to be able to basically put your hand over it and then turn the tap open slightly so that you can let the acid out. And you have a little bit of practice then with trying to go slowly so that you don't have lots of acid rushing in to your conical flask. So I've actually missed it, so I'm on 0.6. Okay, so this is going to be your acid leftovers, so we're going to not use that for the moment. You're going to then do a titration with your sample. So it's a river sample, so I need to go get one. Okay, so you need 50 mils of sample. You can measure your 50 mils out in your measuring cylinder, and then you're going to put the 50 mils of sample into a conical flask. And this is where you're going to do the titration. So hopefully you can remember what a titration is. Basically, you're looking to have a color change. Usually you go to a pH of 7, but because we're interested in alkalinity, we actually have to go to a pH of 4.5. So the first process is to add in a indicator. So that's going to be your phenolphthalein indicator. You just need a couple of drops. Give it a swirl. So it may go pink, it may not. And depending on what type of sample it is, you may have to do a titration. And if it doesn't change colour, then you don't have to. Okay, so just to recap then, we've got our 50 mils of sample. we put in 6 drops of phenolphthalein. If there was a colour change, we have to add some acid so that we go to an end point, which is pH 7 for phenolphthalein. Then we note down how much acid you've used. And the next step then is we have to titrate to a pH of 4.5. Now the end point for phenolphthalein is pH 7. So we have to add another indicator called bromocresol green, which allows us to identify when we come to an end point of pH 4.5. So again, 6 drops of the indicator into our sample. That might go everywhere. And it will actually go green because the end point for bromocresol green for a pH of 7 is actually green. So that makes sense. Again, you're going to note where you are with the acid because you need to know how much you're going to add into the conical flask. And you're going to then add the acid dropwise until you come to the end point, which is pale pink. So open the tap really slowly so that you can get drops going in, and you can see that already it's gone a small bit pink, but then as you swirl it, it'll go back to green. And so the point is then to try to get it so that you eventually come to a permanent pink colour. Once you get it to a dripping, you can keep swirling and dripping and swirling and dripping until you're pretty sure it's staying a pink colour. And then you note how much acid that was. And that's the answer.